Sounds like the topic for today.
I guarantee I can rant about it. There's no doubt about that. Morning.
Hey, guys in chat, don't mind us. We're all losing it this morning. Good morning, everybody. It's good to see everybody here. Steve's not with us today. He's running football players up to Eugene for the football game. Not football players, football fans up to Eugene for the football game. So he's off making money, and Jerry is working today, so he won't be with us. But Roy, Containerman, is here in the house. He's actually here at my house.
Upstairs.
As you can kind of see, he's got my mountain in the background there. But he's here, and we're going to run some trains later. I'll actually take the camera up here in a little bit, or I'll use Roy's camera or something and show you some of the stuff that I've been working on, because I did clean up the whole train room, and I put a bunch of fascia board on. I don't know if you remember me saying this, but I hated to put fascia board on mine until I got everything done underneath, because then you just got to pull it off, because otherwise you're going to get down on your belly to get under it. But anyway, we'll go up there here in a little while and show you that too. But
good.
But anyway, good to see everybody. And Steve's not here to run down who's here. We've been talking, so you want to do it, Dennis, or you want to do it, Bill?
Well,
Roy, we can get Roy to do it.
I don't think that I can even see.
Can you see
I can't
the
even
chat,
see
Roy?
the chat.
No,
I
nobody
don't
else
see
can
chat.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, off the iPhone, it just can't do it.
Okay.
I'm not on my iPhone, but all I get is the private chat screen.
Okay. Well, of course, Steve popped in earlier to say hello before he left this morning. But Roy's here, and Randy Doman. Randy, you're new, I think. Welcome. John Tanzillo. And I thought about you this week, John, or last weekend. We were down in Oklahoma City. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute. Lynn McCurdy's here. Rob T-Man. John with Schuylkill River. Who else is here? Hillbilly Railroad. Mark Pruitt with CB&Q in Wyoming. Excuse me. Let's see. Wigwag's here. Stephen, hello. How you doing? Mr. Anderson's here. We're trying to skip over all the ones I've already said. Al Mar's here. Good to see you, Al. Bernard's here. Lee from Anfield Road. I can't see who else is here. I guess that's everybody so far. Anyway,
True.
Roy is here this morning. Like I said, Steve's not going to be here, but we don't really have a subject other than Roy's here. And if you want to ask Roy questions, feel free. But what I was talking to John about earlier is Dennis and I met up at the Oklahoma City Train Show last week, and I watched Dennis's video that he put together, which I had a few short videos that I was going to show this morning. But instead of doing that, I'm going to tell you guys to go watch his video, because he did a really good job with his. And Al, you'll see in that video, there is a N-scale Tulsa depot. I don't think they did near as good a job on it as you did. And I believe that's the Tulsa N-scalers, N-track, whatever they are, whatever part club they are. But I think they were from Tulsa, because they had a lot of the Tulsa area stuff on that layout. But they didn't have the blue whale, though. I was kind of surprised they didn't put that module in. One of them has a module of the blue whale, which is up in Catoosa here, which is a Route 66 icon. So I was kind of surprised they didn't have it on there. But anyway, it was a good show. It was a good show. Had a lot
I think it was a little better than what I've seen in years past as far as some of the quality there.
Yeah.
I can't remember which. I think there was a group from Chicago that had come down that was HO that it was nice seeing that. I don't think I'd ever seen that one before.
Were they the ones with the Santa Fe stuff and the big engine facility? I can't remember who that was. It's in your video, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I didn't do a very good job of showing whose layouts was whose. I should have, in hindsight, I absolutely should have taken a little video of the placard, and then, started each segment with who was who. But I didn't think about that until after I was already editing the video.
And if Heath gets in here or watches a replay of this, you got to go watch Dennis's video because you'll love one section of it.
I actually already shared that with him on Discord, but I don't think he ever saw it because he didn't comment on it. But he's a very busy man, I understand.
Yeah, the guy had built a whole circus scene from the parade through town to the midway.
Nice.
To the freak show.
Probably the most impressive thing there. Yeah, I would say it was the most impressive part of the whole show there in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
So we know, Dennis, you didn't buy a whole lot because you and I had chatted briefly on that. Claude, what'd you spend? Or what'd you buy?
I didn't buy anything.
Nothing?
I almost bought an HO steam locomotive, but I didn't. I'm kind of at that point in the layout. I bought so much stuff early before I even got started, or as I was getting the benchwork built, that I've got more than I can probably put on it now. And I ran my PA locomotive yesterday trying to get ready for Roy to be here. And I'm finding out that it doesn't like the 6-wheel trucks very well in a couple of my turnouts. So I'm going to have to go in there and modify them. It's funny, they go through it backwards just fine. And, if it's running backwards, they went through fine. If it's going forward, this is going into the points. No. So I don't know what the deal is on that, but I'll have to do more.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, more checking on that. I don't know what it is, but anyway, no, I didn't buy anything. I just picked my son up in Stillwater and we drove down and went to the show. And I'm not sure that I'll go back because there's really nothing HON3 there. I did find some HON3 stuff, but it was track and I don't need that. It was turnouts and stuff like that, and I don't need any of that stuff. So
yeah, all I ended up getting was this coffee cup, and I got a used DT 402 throttle for $15 that doesn't work.
Oh, it doesn't?
It doesn't work. Well, I say it doesn't work. There are certain buttons that work, but like the reversing button, the one that you're going to need to use the most to change the direction of the train.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's pretty much worthless.
Yeah.
So
well, see, I don't need
find that out.
I don't need any cups because I've got plenty over here and I got some over there in that bookcase. I can see it. That one's full of them. And there's probably a third that many upstairs in boxes.
At least you've got a place for yours. All of mine are stacked on top of each other in the cabinet.
Yeah.
Because I actually drink coffee out of them.
Well, I've got some that I drink coffee. I've got this one. I got this from Mike McCarville's channel. It's a picture of the Chama yard. And I drink coffee out of it. And then I've got the one from Train Mountain that I drink coffee out of. But everything else goes up there. But that's from all our vacations and all that kind of stuff. It's from everywhere. But there's a whole shelf and a half of train stuff on it. So got lots of that stuff. It's a sickness, like model railroading.
Model railroad for pack rats. We just collect, and it could be a variety of different stuff.
Yeah. Okay, Heath is here now. Okay, did you hear what we were talking about, Heath? You got to go see Dennis's video. He said he sent you something on Discord you need to watch, but it's in his video on his channel if you didn't see it on Discord. Anyway, Roy is on vacation and I am his first stop on his vacation. I think you're going to go over. Well, I'm not going to say it. You can say it if you want. Where you're going to go from here?
You just have to watch for hints and hint videos to see where I'm at. So that's all I'm going to say.
I let the cat out of the bag. I didn't know he was doing a contest thing, so
it was the last minute.
Even on the show that he was going to be here.
Yeah, just a last minute deal. I did the video on Wednesday and I thought, heck, I'll make a contest. I haven't had a contest in a while. And it's taken me awful long time to get to 1750 or 2000, so I thought I'd throw a contest in it. So that's okay. at least people will start, will be looking for me. And like I said, I might drop hint videos or something, or if you're on Instagram or Discord, I might drop something.
So there you have it, guys. Anyway, Roy's here in the house. He got in last night, and we were kind of discombobulated this morning because usually Steve's got me in here by an hour before the show. And my wife made breakfast this morning for us because we had company. And so I was doing that when Dennis yelled at me. I said, "Hey, where's everybody?" So anyway, here we are. And like I say, we don't really have a subject today, but I did want to see what Bill's gotten up to here lately. I saw I think your last video, and it's looking really good. And of course we get hints of it on the show every week, but your videos are a little more in depth.
Yeah, I always like to kind of show it step by step, but I can show you what I've done. I've done a fair amount since we've been 2 weeks since the last show here. So last time I had gotten the fascia on, and I'd gotten my hard shell scenery in place. So not a whole lot on anything over here. I'm building some trees. So this is going to go down by this little river scene down here.
That's a nice looking tree.
Yeah, those are fun. They're so easy to build. Same, here's another deciduous tree, and then over here some trunks for what'll end up being birch trees by the time I'm done. They'll just kind of be along this, which is the river bank, and then a little water feature just basically right here, a little triangle.
Hey Bill, those smaller trees there, did you make those too?
Yep, this is the grapevine wire. It's just got a white natural coating on it. They come in different colors. You can get the dark brown, there's a green, and then there's this, which is a tan. And they're all going to get painted anyway, so it doesn't really make any difference. Like, this is the green grapevine wire. And by the time it's all done, I give it a shot of spray paint, and they're all going to be kind of the same color. I'll do a light coat on this just so that they kind of keep some of that lighter look.
Mm-hmm.
Then up this way, last time I hadn't gotten anything done over on here. I've got a little bit farther.
And it's looking good.
So a lot of new trees through here, more over this way. But you can kind of see where I've got this. And this morning I ballasted this part of the track and glued it. So this is just wet at the moment.
Tell your surveyor not to back up anymore.
Yeah. Well, if he does, he might survive that one if he falls, but so
unless he bounces and goes off the other one.
So this weekend, my goal is I'm going to be working through here and getting the ground cover done. This is going to be an old country road. I've got some stuff on order that I got to get yet that'll have like a horse drawing a wagon. There'll be a little bit of grass, an old farm scene through here. Cool. Then over here is where I've gotten pretty much most everything done. I've still got to do a little bit more on scenery work. I got some gravel I'm going to put like right here to do the distance or the separation between the crossover and the dirt road. So I'll get that done. But I've got the ballast is in all the way now for where I'm going to do it on the different scenes. I found with the super tree material, I found some of the super tree material has a natural reddish tint. If you go out into the forests, most anywhere you find trees and bushes that are kind of off the red color. So I didn't do anything with those little things. I just picked off some pieces just to kind of put into my scenery. It gives it nice color. Yeah, come over here.
That's one thing about nature, it's more than one color.
Oh, it is, for sure. So I've got this side pretty well done. Same thing, ground covers in. This is all the first coating of ground cover because I will come back in and I'll add a lot of deadfall and leaves and needles like I did on the other side. Here's the seam between the two sections of the layout, kind of coming up through this crevice and then across, grass has covered it up. You really can't see the seam unless you're like getting way up high and looking down on it. And I've got all of the trees in now for the contest. And I'll have a video coming out either later today or tomorrow announcing the winner, because I've put in all of the trees that I'm going to put in. And that includes those trees that I'm building that I showed over on the other side. So I won't say the amount, but let's just say it's at least 40 plus more trees than what I was talking about last time.
We're getting close to my guess. Add a few more.
So anyway, that's what I've been up to.
Looks great.
Mm-hmm.
Then this morning, again, before the show, I've still got to work over here, but I've been starting to do a little bit down here near the tunnel entrance for the standard gauge. Get more of this done, and then I can put in the ballast. And in fact, I got to come back and paint. I noticed that these 3 ties I actually didn't paint, so I've got to get some more paint out and then paint those up before I get too far along.
Yep, looks great.
Yep. So that's what I've been up to this week. Well, actually, the past 2 weeks. This week I've been traveling for work, so I didn't get anything done. So this was mostly since last weekend, or from last weekend.
Yeah. And I got a bunch done. I say a bunch done. It felt like a bunch. Mainly fascia board and stuff, but I got some of the other wiring nailed out. And then one of the problems I had was I was cleaning up yesterday, cleaning up the train room for Roy to get here. And then I put train on track, getting ready to run it, and nothing happened. And I was like, what's going on? So I get to check, and the whole bottom level is shorted.
Ooh.
And because it's all one power district. And so I'm thinking, oh crap, where's this at? So I'm checking, thinking it's a piece of solder or something that's laying over the rails or something. So I'm checking and vacuuming and all this kind of stuff. And it's still doing it for about an hour and a half or maybe more than that. And I was to the point where I'm thinking tearing this thing out of this room wouldn't be that big a deal, you know. It would save a lot of heartache. Yeah, I mean, that's how frustrated I was, because I hadn't done anything on the bottom, and I'd just run trains a couple of weeks ago and it was running fine. And then I turn around and try to do it 2 weeks later and nothing's working. And it's like, I know I didn't do anything. So that's what frustrated me. And so I started pulling wires loose and all this stuff, and I, still couldn't find it. So I finally went there. I thought, well, I'll check all the gaps on all my insulated frogs and stuff like that, And I took a razor blade and I checked them all, and I found a couple of pieces of ballast in between gaps, but that shouldn't have done it. So I still don't know what it was, but then I checked it again after I did that and it worked. So I have no idea what was shorting or where the short was, but it works now. So at least I think it works now. I turned it on this morning. It may be a different matter, but yeah, it was making me crazy.
Maybe you had something land across the track that got dislodged.
That's the first thing I checked. That's what I thought it was, a piece of that real fine solder, and that wasn't it either. So I didn't know. And the only place I didn't check was inside the mountain, but that was the next place to go crawl in there. But there shouldn't have been anything in there either, because I haven't been in there a year. And so I couldn't figure out what it was. But plus, like I say, a couple of weeks before, I had trains were running just fine on it. But I got it, somehow it worked. I'm not going to say I fixed it. It just started working. And so anyway, we'll probably go up there later and run some trains, but I don't know where Roy ran off to. Oh, he's right there. He went out to his car. He's in the front door. Anyway, yeah, we'll go up there. I get Roy to wait till he gets up there, and I'll get him to walk around and show what I've been doing. Haven't done anything on the bottom, like I said, but I have been doing some upper work in the mining district, and I'm waiting on my backdrops. I think they're going to be here today. I thought they were going to be here in a week, and of course the mail system right now is just not reliable at all. Yeah. So, because the last time I ordered one, it took 3 weeks for it to get here. So it just sat in the warehouse somewhere, and this time they kept saying it was between here and Rochester. Well, it had left Rochester, New York, but it was in transit to the next destination, but it didn't have anything for 3 or 4 days. And it's like, there's no telling where it's at. But that's why I haven't done any more plaster work up there. But I did do a little bit, and I don't know if I showed you 2 weeks ago. Did I show 2 weeks ago fixing that corner that you were asking me about, Bill?
I don't
transition on that corner.
I remember we were talking about it, and you'd said that you'd come up with a solution for it, but I don't think we went up and saw it.
I've got some of it done, and if I can get Roy to take the camera over there and show that. Hey, Roy, you're muted.
Yeah.
If you would take your camera and show that upper deck over there in the mining district, this way I can watch for any questions on here since Steve's not here today.
Let's see.
And I'll make him big once he gets over there. Let's see here.
Which one?
Just to your left there, by the big mountain where the Y is at the top. Okay, there's that. Yeah, right there. There's that transition I was talking about, Bill.
Yeah.
And this is just this side of it. I haven't finished the other side of it yet because it's a little harder to reach. But this is where I started. I thought I'm just going to do a real rocky outcrop right there and put a real short tunnel through it. And then that little house that's sitting there is going to be the upper tram building. It'll be up on the mountain to the right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, up there. And then the building just over his shoulder there with the red door on it, that's the lower tram building where they'll empty the buckets in the mine cars and run them over to the trestle. And then, of course, dump them in the cars. And so I got that all plastered in there. It's not got ground cover on it yet, but it's plastered and ready to go. And I haven't done it on go ahead and swing on around the corners. I've got the foam in there for the mountains and stuff in the corners, but I haven't put any plaster on here because I want to get the backdrop up first and then put the plaster on. It's real tough to get the backdrop up tight to the plaster if you plaster first. So, but it'll go back around. The cut that I had over here on this side in this corner is going to be a tunnel now. It's just going to work better that way. And it'll go from right there to the other side and come out right there into the switchback area.
The fascia looks nice.
But yeah, I've been putting all the fascia up. Those are touch toggles you see there, the little black disc with the white dot in them. Those will be for the turnouts that are up there on that top level. And I'm not going to tell you, I've told Roy what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do with the other side where the Y is, because I came up with an idea I think is going to be really good for over there. But the other stuff I did was finish the bottom. I didn't finish the bottom, but I put some more fascia on the bottom on this side. I haven't finished it over there, but there where the cattle pens are, stuff like that. So anyway, that's pretty much what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Amongst other things. I've been down in my back again, so it's been a little tough to do. But anyway, I haven't done anything over on the other side of the layout. It's still the same.
Looks great.
Thank you, Roy.
No, I'm not done yet. We need to see this. We don't never see this. Look at that.
Yeah, I've shown that before.
Oh yeah. Okay. How about?
Yeah, long time ago. Bernard, the blue board is on the next two backdrops I'm doing. They're mining scenes, so instead of having the sky on them, I'm gonna cut them down right at the horizon and put them against that blue backboard. It's the same color as most of that sky on the backdrops, so that's why I'm doing it that way. I think it'll look just fine that way. Yes, it's just painted. Yeah, it's yeah. Well, more like, yeah, there's different names for it, but that's what it is. And it's not even primed. I just painted right on it. It holds it just fine. Of course, it's not out in the weather either, so that helps. Anyway.
So, hey, for people who don't realize the size difference here, that's narrow gauge. And that's standard gauge. I mean, that's.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of difference.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when you see a narrow gauge train by itself, you don't notice it because they're all about the same size. But when you see it up next to the standard gauge, that's when you really notice the difference in size. Oh,
Okay.
and by the way, that boxcar, that narrow gauge boxcar, Roy, I did get those from Nate.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I bought a whole bunch of them from him. He had them advertised a year or so ago, and I bought the whole slew from him.
Hey, what happened? There's no trucks.
Oh, the trucks that are on that are, I don't know what kit those were made from, but they've just got a plastic pin that holds the truck on.
Right.
They fall out real easy. I'm going to modify them and put screws in them.
Okay.
But I haven't got around to that yet.
I didn't break it.
Yeah, Heath, it does look like HO versus N scale. That's about the difference. It's, quite a bit smaller. Engines are too. If you run a narrow gauge steam engine up against that GP7 that's standing in the background, it'll look about the same as that boxcar or the stock car there. So it's really tough to tell the difference when they're by themselves. But when you get them up next to another one, you get the context. Yeah, there's a lot of difference there.
You're going to have it where you've got both the narrow gauge and standard gauge by the meat packing plant, right?
Yes.
That's where it's going to be easy to really see that difference once you get that scene going and you've got freight cars coming in and out.
Well, and the standard gauge loop to loop runs through the narrow gauge yard. So that's a lot of dual track through the yard there and stuff where the gauge comes through. But
well, don't want that.
But
oh, I can't. I don't know. I was going to try to switch cameras, camera views, but I'm not sure. But you can see that. Yeah. So he's got dual gauge. Can you see that?
You'd have to hold it up high. Yeah, there you go.
Dual gauge
track.
Yeah, there's dual there, and that one's just a narrow gauge out. So I'm trying to help.
Yeah, Heath, that's how you tell the difference. The narrow gauge only has one set of trucks. That sounds like something Steve would ask me.
Oh, Eagle Eye Heath.
Yeah. Ice house, yeah. The ice house is there in the main yard.
Oh.
Bernard, here you go, Roy. Bernard says trucker throws a truck. Film at 11. Yeah, like I say, I don't know what kind of kit those stock cars were. They're really nice little stock cars, but they've got just plastic pins for the kingpin, and instead of a screw, and they fall off real easy. So anyway, it's coming along. It's getting there, and
even have operating doors.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're really nice little box cars or stock cars. And he had, I don't know.
But they're not rail line. They're something that he produced, or
I don't know. I didn't ask him. So I don't know. In fact, I don't know how Nate's doing. Last I heard, he was getting ready to go in for brain surgery, and I haven't heard anything since. So if anybody knows, you can drop me a note or put it on here if it's appropriate. I mean, I don't want to invade his privacy, but I know he was getting ready to go in for some brain surgery or something like that. And I haven't heard from him since. So, keep him in your mind and say a prayer for him. Anyway, Dennis, what have you been doing on yours? Bernard wants to know now.
I've been building turnouts. The last 2 weeks, I've built 8 turnouts. I've got 4 in the pike today that I will probably go ahead and finish today. I've now built 3 three-way turnouts none of which have worked. That's a whole topic of discussion that we could get into if anybody wants to hear me rant. But
Start ranting.
I have been so frustrated with the three-way turnouts that I'm about this close to finally getting one that works. I might actually, if I can figure out where the gap is, and I think what I've got going on right now is right here. It's kind of hard to do, but I believe right there I need a gap that's not there in between these 2-point rails. Once I get that gap in there, I think it'll work. If it doesn't, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because I'm tired of messing with it. But yeah, I don't really have anything to show. I mean, I could walk around the corner and show you everything you've already seen and some curved turnouts and some, number 8 that's going to be crossovers that aren't crossovers yet. But that's really all I've got. I don't have anything visual for anyone to really look at the moment.
I kind of hate to put this up here, but it's fairly important, I think. Dwayne said Nate passed away, and I was kind of afraid of that, but like I say, I hadn't heard. Thank you, Dwayne, for letting us know. Joe Rader knew it too, I guess, but yeah, I hated to hear that because I really like Nate. Of course, he was a narrow gauge guy too, so
yeah, I got a cleaning.
Not a lot of us out there. Well, I guess there are. I just don't know a lot of them. So
there's just not a lot of us on YouTube.
Yeah,
very few of us that, other than showing your layout already completed. There's quite a few people like that, like the building process and that part of it. I think you and I are about the only ones.
Yeah. I know Nate had gotten into doing structure kits and stuff too. So he was working with Mike McCarville on some of that stuff. And that's what I should ask. I should ask Mike because I'm sure Mike knows.
I kind of wondered if Mike didn't take over some of Nate's stuff.
That I don't know. But I may ask him next time I see him.
Because I know that huge facility for the East Broad Top. Yeah, I think that was all Nate's work.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. I think all the research and stuff on it Nate did, I believe. At least that's my understanding. And yeah, he was a big Broad Top fan, and but he's the one I got those stock cars from. So I'm glad I bought them now.
Yeah,
from him, not for me to have them, but just just because I knew Nate, and he was a real good guy. Hate to hear that. Anyway, let's move on. You're not going to show us anything then, other than that stupid turnout that you can't fix.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's really nothing that you haven't already seen.
Well, if you want to, after the show, if you want to video a little bit, we can spitball some, and because what I'd have to do is go get the template and stuff and look at it, because I did it just like the template was on the HO, but you have to shrink it down. So I know there was one spot in there that gets really tight.
I think it has to be where those two rails cross each other. You got your right side point rail and your left side point rail. It's gapped at the points themselves, but where they cross, I think I'm missing a gap in the PCB tie right there.
Yeah, you may be. I know it. I went through there meticulously and made sure, I'd go to each tie and go, okay, now, and then I'd look at the rails and say, do I need to gap this? And I would mark them, and then I went back in and cut them. But I did all my cutting with a Dremel afterwards. That's the way I do mine.
How in the world would you get a Dremel in there?
Well,
Where's it at?
I have
you got a Dremel
wheel. Yeah, I have a real thin cutoff wheel.
In between, I can't do it because it's backwards. In between these two rails?
Yeah. Because like I said, if you if you try to put it in, actually, you don't have to go between those two. You shouldn't have to, because those are the same rail.
Right here?
Yeah, the two narrow ones. No, to your, well, it's kind of hard to tell which one.
Yeah, I know, I'm doing everything backwards here. But
On your right.
in between
On your
these
right.
two rails, right here and here, those have to be gapped right here, right?
There. But the narrow gap, the narrow two rails to the
because
right
we're going to share the same polarity. Yeah, this is the one I'm missing. I'm pretty sure the second I gap that, and you can see here.
That's the one you got to gap. Well,
no, that's the one that I gapped on the wrong side of the PCB tie, because I was looking at it backwards. Kind of a long story, and I plan on putting it in a future video. But my vise, when I originally chucked this in the vise, I had too much turnout on one side because I've got my vise. It's a kind of a long story, but I had to move the vise and then turn things around. And when I did, I put this in a different direction, and I thought I was on the outside of this PCB tie.
Yeah.
And when I gapped it here, I actually gapped it on the wrong side.
Yeah.
So I had to go back in and resolder and put a little bit piece of wire there to make that all polarity again, and then the gap should have gone here. But that's not even in the jig. This tie right here.
Yeah.
I added that.
Yeah, I did too.
And that's a frustration with me. There's got to be a way that you think Fast Tracks would at least do some kind of
explanation on it. Yeah, because you've got to have it for the HOM3. You've got to have that there to have something to put all that on. And in the on the H,
otherwise you end up with gaps in different places. And I suppose you could do that. You could leave that out, and then you could gap. Okay, I'm backwards again. You could gap this and this, your wider rail. You could gap them somewhere else and then gap this one up here, so that you'd have three different gaps instead of one line. You could do that, I suppose, without adding this particular tie. Then you would be working off of this tie for one of the gaps back here, and then this tie.
You'd have to be careful doing it that way, though, because if your wheels run over the adjacent rail at the same time, you're going to have a problem there.
Yeah, there's just a real lack of information on Fast Track's part.
That's why I love this show. Everybody's got to get
remember this one.
Oh, yeah, Mark. I know that the templates show it, but if they're Fast Tracks templates, they're the HO scale, HO size. We're talking HOM3, and man, you talk about difference in the size between the template and the actual jig that you're using is huge. You wouldn't think it would be that big, but it's kind of like the cars, the different size difference in the cars. You shrink all that rail down, and it starts becoming clogged up on a three-way.
When you look at the template here, this is the template that you get from Fast Tracks. You can kind of infer some things from it, but you actually look at the jig itself, and the jig is just completely different. Where you've got these two PCB ties there that, there's no explanation. One of them's a throwout bar and one of them's not. And I don't know. It's just, and there are no separate instructions for the narrow gauge.
No, and I'm not sure why they haven't done that.
Yeah, I might write them.
No, Mark, that template I think he just showed was the HO version, wasn't it?
This is narrow gauge. This actually says HO N3 scale,
okay.
number 6 3-way. But when you actually look at it as compared to the turnout jig itself, I'm backwards. Jiminy Christmas.
There's that gap again.
There, right there. There.
I can't see, but they're not the same thing. This is not the same thing as this. It's just not.
Yeah, it was wonky. I mean, when I was doing mine, I know I was having trouble, and I had to fudge it around a little bit to get it to work. Even after I built it and I thought I had it all done, I was still back in there, applying heat and moving stuff and getting it to where it would clear everything. And once I did that, then I was in pretty good shape, because I think I got all my gaps in the right spots. But of course, I always make sure it runs through good first, and then I go cut my gaps. But I just use a real narrow, the narrowest Dremel disc that they've got, cutoff disc that they've got, and it works pretty good. So it leaves pretty big gaps, kind of like what I was talking about with the short on mine. I couldn't believe that's where the problem was, and it had to be, because that's when it started working, is after I went in there and cleared the ballast out in between those gaps. But I would have never thought it would have conducted through there, but it must have.
I wouldn't think, unless you've got some metal chips in there somewhere you didn't know you had.
That's a possibility. It could have had something from cutting the gaps. Could have had some. I usually vacuum them real good when I cut them, but
Do you use a natural ballast?
No, I use I haven't yet. All of my ballast is Woodland Scenics so far.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Either Woodland Scenics or I have used a little bit of the Arizona Rock Company, I think, but I don't think in that area where I was checking, I'd use that. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's unlikely. It's possible the little piece of ballast could have been electrically conductive, or at least enough to cause the problem for you. But
my guess is it could have been a straight spike that was laying underneath or something. But what was weird was it just showed up out of the blue, because I hadn't been working down there. So it wasn't something I recently dropped. It was been there for a while, and then just for some reason started making contact and touching it. Roy looks like he's up in the mountains.
Roy, you just need a fishing pole now and look like you're casting out into a
there you go.
river.
Yeah, get the fly rod out, man. Fred said he had a heck of a time when he built a 3-way, but he wasn't using a template to assemble it. Oh, mercy. I can imagine you had a heck of a time, because they're not, of course, there's a couple of different ways you can make a 3-way turnout. They call them 3-ways, but one of them is just a staggered turnout. Whereas these 3-ways are pretty much all right on top of each other.
It's like a number 6 on top of a number 8. I can't think of what.
Yeah, because the one set of points is really short, and then you've got to cut gaps in the other set of points on one of the points for the. It's hard to explain, the other point to set in that's above it, to set in far enough so you don't pick the point.
Right.
So I had to go back in and unsolder those.
You have to remove the base of the rail on one set of points, so that your other set of points can interface with that set of points.
Yeah, it's not as easy as doing a number 6 or something like that, for sure. Those are child's play compared to that 3-way.
Oh yeah.
And the HO version would be easier to build too, because there's more room.
Yeah.
It was just the fact that it was so cramped, and you've got to get all that in there, and you've got to have the guardrails, and you got to have the right points and all that stuff. It's
and there's places that you have to remove part of the base rail that I'm assuming you absolutely don't have to in the standard gauge, but you have to in the narrow gauge. If you don't remove some of the base rail, you can't get your rail joiners in, and you have to have those at least 2 rail joiners on your short points.
Yeah, because you can't do them as a solid point.
Right.
Like you do on a number 6, you can do a number 6 without putting the hinge points in there. But on that freeway, you have to have a hinge point on that second set of points, because if you don't, you'll never get the throw over. It'll be too tight.
Yep.
What was this I was looking at? Nope, not that one. So that's what happens when I look away and then go back. Path Valley says Daniel Cortopassi, I don't know if that's how he pronounces it, is handing dual gauge in 3 turnouts. Yeah, more skill than I've developed. He needs to talk to Shannon. Oh shoot, I didn't send Shannon the link.
I would only attempt to do a stub end. I think you could do a stub end 3-way without too many problems, because you wouldn't have kind of the same.
Well, they all come down at the same place, and your throws are identical.
You're actually moving the standard rails left and right to align with the route.
Yeah,
and I think that would be a lot easier to do.
The trick with a 3-way stub turnout, though, is you can't use a turnout motor on it.
Right. You have to use what am I thinking?
I'd just think of something that's a push-pull and then line it by eyesight.
Well, if you wanted to automate it, you'd have to use a servo motor.
Yeah, you can do a servo.
You can program to stop at a specific point.
Yeah.
Where you're
put a dead spot in it so it stops at one point. Yeah. Kind of like they do at turntable indexing.
Exactly.
Kind of that kind of thing.
That kind of thing. And semaphores. If you want an actual 3-position semaphore, then you're going to have to use a servo, like an airplane servo kind of thing.
Yeah. Because see, I'm using tortoises on mine. I've got 2 tortoises on each of those 2 3-ways.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do too.
And they work, And then that's the nice thing about the touch toggles is he's got a plug-in that you put into your base, that you plug your lights into, your actual toggles into. And so you touch the route that you want. It takes 3 toggles, and you just touch the route that you want, and it automatically aligns the 2 points, whichever route that is, which is really nice. Kind of like the LCC basically does.
But you
and
have
you
to
use LCC, I guess, for that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That might be the way. You might be able to do the LCC with, I don't think you could use a tortoise on a stub, though. I don't think it would work. I'm not watching.
No. Because it's an either or. It's either all the way thrown one way or all the way thrown the other way. You can't stop it in the middle, I don't think.
Yeah. Anderson, 3-way stub. Are we on the right channel? Well, I'm not sure.
We better not touch that one.
I'm never sure if I'm on the right channel, and you can ask my wife about that. Yeah, it's they're a different animal altogether, and even in HO, standard gauge size, they're still different. And there's different ways of building them. I've seen different ways of building them, but the way that Fast Tracks does them is as short as you can get it without going to a stub.
Yeah. The left-hand route, I believe, is probably a number 8. And then the right-hand route, I think, is a number 6.
Yeah.
It's either that or hopefully it's not a number 4, because if it's a number 4, I already know I'm going to have problems. Because I haven't yet been able to test it with a locomotive because I haven't got it to work yet.
Yeah.
But I think I will get that accomplished today, one way or the other.
Well, yeah, because the jig says it's a number 6 3-way is all it says. It doesn't say, if they're different or not. But
I think that's the shortest route. I think the diverging route to the left, it looks to me like it's a number 8, just by eyeballing it.
So, Bill, your turnouts on your O scale there, those are all commercial turnouts?
Oh yeah, I haven't tried to build anything yet. I do have a number of fast track jigs and stuff that I bought at a train show last January here in Richmond, but I've never brought it out to do anything with them yet. And it's VO scale. It's like code 83, and of course my switching layout's code 70. But again, thinking future, and I got a really good deal. It's like $125 for about $300 of used fast track, 3 jigs, ties, the sanding jigs for the points, a whole bunch of stuff that they were just, I got it at like half price of what they had for a show, half price.
Yeah, that's you got more than $300 worth there. Trust me.
Sounds to me like you got a steal. You could probably sell that on eBay and make twice your money.
I probably could, but one of these days, I want to give my hand a try at it because I've never done it. And it sounds like it would be fun, if not frustrating, for the first few until you get, a rhythm down and you know what you're doing. But
yeah, when you get the hang of it, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The very first just standard, I think it was a right-hand turnout that I made, it worked. There were some issues with it, but I had success right out of the box. Now that I've built, I don't know, I'm over 30 now, I think, total that I've built. I'm confident in all of the left and right turnouts, that they're easy. It's just a matter of making sure that your actual point before you do any soldering lays in there on your stock rails the way you want it to before you solder. And if you can get that, and making sure that you've got enough material moved away or grinded away from that stock rail that when the point comes in and makes contact with the stock rail, it's not protruding. If it's not protruding out past the stock rail, no issues, other than making sure that your actual point is sharp enough that it's not moving the trucks when the trucks come through. Yeah. You do not want the point to become a guardrail. You want your guardrails to work and your points just to pick up the rail as they come through, or pick up the wheel as they come through.
Like as you're making switches, say just, a typical switch, how long does it take to put one together once you know what you're doing?
Once you've done,
Claude and I are going to have different answers.
If it's like just a regular number 6 or something like that, I can probably do one in 30 to 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And my answer is 2 hours.
Either way is not really that much.
Because
now he's not talking about the freeway he did. He's still working on it. But no, it's you find where the problems are real quick. When you build them, you can see what you're doing wrong, and you can see what you have to correct. And so once you learn where to correct that, you don't do that again, and it makes it a little easier. Now, the only problem, or the biggest problem I've had with any of mine, have been on the curve turnouts. And it's because I'm using solid points instead of hinge points. Hinge points would work much smoother. They don't look as real, but they work much smoother. The solid ones, the problem on a curve turnout, you pre-bend the rail a little bit. But the problem with doing that is if you overbend it, you have the same amount of problem as if you don't bend it at all. Because what ends up happening when you throw the points, you're either out of gauge between the point rails, or you're pinching the point that's open is then pinching down past the point, but it's pinching against the stock rail. And so your flanges don't want to go through and they want to ride up and derail. So that's the biggest problem. I've even thought about going in with a real short piece of PCB tie and solder in the center of the rails in between the regular ties
to keep them
to
engaged.
Hold the gauge. And I would do that if I have to. I'll dig it out, dig the ballast out and do that if I have to. And of course you got to remember to gap it if you do that, but it'll hold that in gauge.
Do you pre-bend all of your rail before you even begin?
On my curve turnouts? Yeah. I try the ones that they're going to be curved now. My when I'm doing the frogs, I don't bother because they're fairly short. They're going to fit in there just fine. But the longer ones, I try to give them a little bit of pre-bend because, like he says in his practice videos on fast tracks, he said if you don't do that, then the problem is they have that memory. They want to go back to being flat. The problem is if you do it too much, you have that same problem.
Right.
You know, it doesn't want to go back. You've already pushed it too far out.
Do you have a bender tool?
I do, yeah. I find
that's what I did
on that number 8 curve. It's almost as easy to do it by hand and not overdo it as it is to use the roller. And I don't have a Fast Tracks one. I got one that somebody offered on eBay that works really well, but it was a whole lot cheaper than what Fast Tracks wanted.
One of the things that, and I know it's probably not what to see, but one of the things that I do that maybe Claude doesn't do is on the points themselves and even the frogs, I remove the other side of the rail, the head of the rail. I do that for 2 reasons. One, it's going to make the point that much sharper so that when the inside of the rail, your wheel won't pick up on the head of the rail. And it also lays in your tool flatter. And so you can remove more material before you delaminate the actual rail. And that's kind of hard to explain. And if you've ever ground one off, if you don't grind it off even, if you don't file it even, you will file more on one side than the other, and it'll delaminate, and then you end up having to snip. But if you get it to lay on the tool nice and smooth and flat, it will take everything off evenly. And the only way I've been able to find to do that is to remove all of the head of the rail at about the first, I don't know, 1/16 of an inch or so that you're not grinding off. So that you file that off, flip it over, put it in your sanding tool, and then it just, and that's why it takes me a little bit longer, because I do probably things that maybe other people have found a way to have them work better than I do. I don't know, but that's been my biggest frustration with all of them, is because I'm running 482s and that front pilot truck just bounces around.
Yeah.
You know, you can't have any bouncing going into those points, otherwise you're going to derail. So I want nothing to touch going through there, that there's zero chance that your pilot truck is going to hit that and go anywhere. It just needs to be as smooth as possible. So I take extra time to make sure that it's smooth.
I might have to try that the next time I do one. What did I see up here? I saw
Hey, Sparky, it's really hard to try to get anything talking with these two here. They're taking up the whole show here.
Sorry.
I was just getting ready to say, somebody said something about that I saw on there.
Well, Sparky, thank you for posting the contest video. And just be looking for, I might drop a hint of where I'm at and where I'm going to be at the next live stream event, or maybe somebody will pop up with a special live stream event. So that's all I can tell you. Oh, other than what? I did mention either 25 winners with a coffee mug of all the trucks I've driven for this company so far, or maybe a mouse pad with the 4 pictures of the trucks. So I haven't decided. And of course, it was so hectic, I forgot my re-railer shirt today, and I forgot to bring business cards and magnets for the fellow live streamers that I was going to visit. And yeah, it was. I didn't have a good day, because yesterday was Veterans Day, of course, and I forgot to bring money to buy my stuff from the auction that Claude had here. Way back in August already, and yeah. So I got to pay him by PayPal anyway.
What are the rules of the contest, Roy?
You have to answer correctly. Oh, I'm sorry, but you're excluded from the contest. Any live streamers that I meet are excluded from the contest. But that was the purpose of the business cards and the magnets. And I was going to probably throw in some mouse pads, but I forgot them. I didn't have enough mouse pads made up anyway. But business cards and magnets was going to be your consolation prize for not being able to enter the contest. But who knows? You might get a mug anyway. So the mug, it's a coffee mug with all 4 pictures of the trucks. You have to answer correctly all the live streamers that I met on my trip, and I've extended it to December 4th, just in case I happen to hit someone else that is not on this first 7 days tour.
So if you meet someone physically in person,
yeah,
the contestant is supposed to guess who you've met,
who I met, and their YouTube channel if possible.
YouTube channel.
Yeah, YouTube channel more because it'd be more publicity for you guys, but and name of the channel holder, I guess is So answer correctly. It's not a guessing game. It's going to be answered correctly.
And I don't have to worry about how he's doing it because I'm excluded.
Sorry, guys.
Plus, I don't have any room for any more cups.
Oh, we made it. I needed power. You have no power up here.
No
You
power.
still got a short
There's
somewhere.
power up there.
The plugins I've tried don't have power.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll show you which. There's a black extension cord over on the floor that I know's got power to it.
Yep. I just got a notification. Bill's video just dropped.
Oh yeah, 11 o'clock Eastern.
10 o'clock.
Yeah, that's the way he is. He's always butting in, isn't he? Well, that went fast this morning. Well, excuse me, guys. Thanks for showing up, guys. We will see you again next week. Steve won't be here again next week, but maybe we'll have somebody else on. Who knows? Or Roy might be on again. You never know. But anyway, thanks, Dennis, Bill, and Roy for coming and being here. And we'll see you guys next week. And go over to Roy's channel and check out his contest. And go over to Dennis's channel and check out his video on the Oklahoma train show because it was pretty good.
Yeah.
All righty. We'll see you next week.
Right.
Yep.
Everybody.
Have a great day.